Snakes. Somebody asked me to see if I could show how I build the dangernoodle thin whip, a little bootlace whip. And to start with, you need a piece of 275 paracord. And the 275 paracord is, I don't know, let's see, it's about 3 foot long piece. So 10 times 18 says 36 inches long. And I shucked the core out of the whip. So you have to cut a taper. And of course, you think you're all prepped, but you gotta roll a pointy end. So this pointy end is necessary because you have to screw it into an internally threaded needle. And this is a 6 inch, 6 inch 1.5 or 1.6 millimeter needle that I make. And there's a video on how to make this needle. It's thinner than a Tandy leather Permalock, but very similar. This is 1.5 or 1.6 millimeter. Little Permalock needles are a couple inches long and they're 2 millimeters. So I need this piece to be about 15 inches long, and a little bit longer, maybe half an inch longer than that. Make sure that you have to pierce into the middle of this 275 paracord. This long needle makes it easier, just saying. Because you start off by making a 275 paracord English eye, and that's for attaching the cracker to. So this is the cracker attachment, or will be. You want to close that eye down. Now that eye, when it gets down to a size you like, I put a tent stake, or you could use a pencil or something to hold the eye open. Tuck it down to that size, and then shuck this piece back and unscrew the needle. So if you want to see how to make, or how I make these long specialty needles for my own use, I use them for making crackers and for doubling up 275 paracord loops. But I have a video on my website called How to Make Custom Paracord Needles, and I show how I tap this. This is a 1/16 of an inch K&S brass tube, and it's been tapped with an M1, and sometimes I go back and tap it with an M1.2 watchmaker tap to open up the eye a little bit bigger, because in a lot of cases I use a sheath like this of whipmaker cord, and I keep this on the end attached to a piece of whipmaker cord so that I can pull pull crackers through themselves or pull braided line through itself. Set this back on the bench. But somebody asked me to make a bootlace whip or a dangernoodle, the thin version. So if you stick it on the center line, this is at 10 inches, 15 inches is right here on this thickened line. If you're using a black piece or dark color, these permanent Sharpies in metallic silver are nice. So I'm going to take and mark at 15 inches of doubled with an eye loop. And then I'm going to cut this off again. And I'm going to melt another cone. This one does not have to be so specific. Let's make a fluorescent orange dangernoodle. So here's the fluorescent orange material. So the only way to really make these, you can make something else, but the only way to make the ones I make is you have to have new old stock or you have to have old stock. So this is what they used to call this material 550 paracord or 650 paracord. And let me see if I can grab a piece of 5 or 650 nowadays, just for comparison. So this is normal 650 cord today, and this is the 650 cord when they first started making it. So it's about 1/3 of an inch, so it's wider than the 550 or 650 flat pressed cord. They standardized the cord down in size so you could use it for braiding whips and braiding things, and mix 650 cord, which is coreless, with 550 cord and not really see a huge width difference. But this was the original 650 cord that they made for a while, and it's pressed flat, so it's heat pressed like this. Anyway, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to take a Permalock needle. This is a Tandy Leather jumbo needle or whatever they call it, that I've sanded down. You don't even have to sand it down. And I'm just going to tuck the 250 or 275 cord in it. And I'm going to slide it in a needle's length and out. And with any luck, nope. So this is where it's handy to have needles with a sheath on it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you want to go about 6 inches. Pop out the side. Okay. Then you take the 275 cord, stick inside the whipmaker cord, and just pull it through. And that silver mark should be visible here once we get it out. So there's the silver mark. So we're going to back the silver mark up to where it's on the edge, and that's the 15-inch mark, which is cool. Now you can use scissors to cut this. I'm just going to use a pair of dikes and just cut it, because it works faster and doesn't require as many actions. So then you want to just work it a little bit till it's tucked inside of the sheath. You want to take a needle with upholstery thread or heavy nylon thread, and you want to, about 1/4 of an inch from where the floofta is, where you cut it off, you want to pierce that assembly. So this will lock the cracker loop into the whip. And then, because I'm lazy and I figured out this works, you can melt the end of the nylon and make a splat. And then, as a shock absorber, rotate this over. And where it came out, go in all the way through the assembly. And you'll see it makes a loop. You gotta bring the loop up, squish it down. Then you want to roll it the other way, or you want to roll it, punch down through again, find the center, go through the metal all the way down. And it makes a little loop. Work that loop so it comes in next to it. So now we have two loops. And then we're going to roll it back towards ourselves, and we're going to go through it. So after 3 stitches that wrap, it's going to come out. You're going to cut it off 1/8 of an inch or so from the cord. And because I'm lazy and it works, you can torch it and squish it flat. So you've got a stitch that goes through that's wrapped, a stitch that goes the other direction that's wrapped, a stitch that goes the other direction that's wrapped, comes out and is melted. This little set of loop stitching will grab if you try and pull this assembly apart. It won't come apart, but if you catch the ceiling fan with this whip, before it breaks the ceiling fan, it'll twist it enough that it'll break this union free, but this tip won't come out unless something goes really wrong. Also, this 275 doubled acts as a plug for the shot. So you need 3 foot of material past that, so do 15, 16, 17, 18 inches. (15, 16, 17, 18 inches. And just cut it. And you can use scissors. Dikes work too. You can torch it and put it on a needle, but in this case, instead of that, I'm going to open this up. So I'm going to use a fed, in this case a titanium tent spike. I bought this thing because I thought it was cool, but it turns out it's a really nice size. And if you cut it with scissors, it's easier to open. So, to give you an idea, unlike 550 cord, so this is 5 millimeters, 4.96 millimeters, slides easily into this tube. Okay, so this is a 5 millimeter tent stake. take this and try and put it into 550 cord. Let's just open up the 550 cord real quick. And that's how far it goes into 550 or 650 new cord. This is the old stuff. So it used to have almost a 6 millimeter diameter. Now it's 4.5 millimeter diameter. We'll go on to a 5 millimeter stake. So you can probably try doing the same thing with 650 cord, regular, like the new stuff, but you're not going to be able to pack much shot into it. So I'm going to show you right here at the end of this is a piece of the steel shot I use. And you're going to have a hard time seeing it unless I zoom up on it. Do you see that little piece of shot right there? That's a little piece of shot. And see it move around. It is, let's see if I can grab it with my, it is a 1 millimeter piece of round steel shot. It's 43 thousandths for that BB. It's a little tiny BB. It's a round high carbon steel shot. It's used for sandblasting. Hi, what are you doing? I said, Sulfa, I'm making a whip. I see. All right, I'm gonna zoom back out so you can kind of see. Okay, so now I've got a 5/32 inch KNS brass tube, and I use this to shot load this piece of 650 cord. So, okay, and that plug seals at the end. And then the other end, I have a ketchup bottle. You can get these from all sorts of places. I've cut the end off so the tube goes inside, and it's full of that really fine steel shot. And I'm going to load this tube up. And then the tube will change temperatures. It'll tell you when it's full. And that may sound funny, but the steel is going to be cooler than the room temperature. Okay, I'm going to try not to spill the shot everywhere. And then you want to hold the end of the tube, and you're going to bounce it. Put your finger on the top so the shot doesn't go everywhere. And you're going to bounce it. And bounce it. This bouncing action lets the BBs fall down. So this is finer than like number 9 or number 12 lead shot, and it's steel, so it's not toxic. Okay, I'm going to measure it real quick. 10, and then, so I want this section to be 21 inches. So I've got to go a little bit more, but it's basically one brass tube full. And if there's any excess and you want to save it, you can put it back in the bottle if the hole's big enough. So that's that 5/32 inch brass tube. Okay. So now we have $15. I'm going to use a dark marker. This is the 20-inch mark, and 21 is right here. I'm going to hold right here, and I'm going to dump the rest of the steel shot beyond that because I want to make it as close to perfect as I can. Yeah. Like all the laid plans. Tube back out. Pinch where the mark is. And that's how you end up with BBs all over your bench. But because they're steel, you can pick them up with a magnet, which is nice. They are hard on your feet and also very hard on your teeth. So don't get them in your mouth. Okay, so I'm going to cut this again. And cutting it that way, the nice part is it sort of welds the end together, which helps you have a sharper line when you decide to put on a paracord needle or some sort of needle. So that's starting to take shape. I'm going to tilt this down a little bit. Okay. Now for the next one, for the next step, you just take your needle and you're going to put it in to a sheath. So we're over-sheathing. This assembly. Again, this material is bigger than 550 or 650 cord, but it is like 1/3 of an inch instead of about 1/4 of an inch. So it's not vastly different. So we're at the end of the shop bag basically. And then I'm going to bring that down. my goal is to get it right here. So to that end, I'm going to pull this out the side. And of course I did. It's barely screwed onto the needle. Okay. And I'm going to pull this until I can feel the bump. Well, I'm going to cut it with a pair of scissors. That way it's easier to get inside that tube later. So I'm going to just push this down. Okay. So I've gone halfway between the end of the other sheath and the tip, and I'm going to pull it the other direction and kind of pack it. So the end of the sheath is right here now because you can feel the bump where it's right here. So it's got about a thumb's length, and up here it's kind of chewed from where I had to use the pliers. So I'm going to go to where it isn't disturbed. I'm going to cut it. Well, I made it look easy before, but it's apparently not as easy as all that. I'm going to create a bigger bead. And I'm not even going to roll it. I'm just going to create a bigger bead because for this part I want it to, I'm going to roll it just a touch. I just want it to actually catch the teeth well. And I'm going to take and pull a third assembly over the entire thing. So, like this. And you want to make sure that there's no fibers that are still stuck together. This is how I make my dangernoodle thin whip, or I used to call it the devil's bootlace. It's a bootlace whip. So you end up with 3 layers over a shop bag, and pull. It takes 5 or 6 feet for the end of for the last pass here, but it is not easy to get it on here because it's 3 sheaths over steel that was already packed in there. You can see it has some stoutness to it with 3 layers. You can also use this as a tapered core for a stock whip, or not a stock whip, but a core for a snake whip or a stock whip thong. The taper is created by the layers. There's no taper through the shop bag though. It has some advantages and some disadvantages. And I started making these cores, and I would take them out to the park with me, and people were having fun throwing these little cores around. And I'd rather they learn throwing one of these, because if they ran off with a core, they didn't run off with hours of my time. And so this should make 3 foot overall when I'm all the way through this. Now, almost there, almost covering the end. So I'm going to go a little further. Okay. And then this is where the end of the English eye is. Put a thumb's length. Grab your scissors. Cut it off. I don't throw these scraps out, but if somebody ever needs a bunch of colorful scraps or not colorful scraps, I save them for them. Put the 5mm fid tent stake, this titanium tent stake, inside the tube, and you gently weld a ring around. That just is a fray prevention. It stops it from fraying. And then get back down to the other end. Okay. This off. I have all these BBs. You can use a magnet, so lick your finger and just pick up these BBs that are all over the place. Throw it in the trash. Again, these are steel, so you can use a magnet. Okay. Okay, so we've got about a thumb's width, and we've got about 6 inches. And down here, I'm going to cut at an angle. And I'm going to heat it up. Roll it. I'm going to screw on a 3mm paracord needle. You don't have to. There's lots of ways to do this. This is just how I go about it. Yeah, and I save these little scraps. You can use them as you put a needle on it and use it to pull other stuff through. Okay, so that's the end of the doubled section. Down here is tripled section, and that's the shot. So up here, I want a half twist, so I have an open, flat open loop, I call it. I'm going to go down through 2 layers, and then tap the shot. You hear it crunching, and you pop out the side. At least hopefully I can pop out the side. Just like magic. Now this will ruin your paracord needle finish, but I use a pair of pliers. Pull it through. And I like this loop to be a flat loop like that. That way it catches your finger. Take the needle off. So when it doesn't want to move, use a pair of pliers. So now this is the doubled section here. So this is all double padded. So I make this. So this acts like a fabric spring, which is part of the magic of how this whip works well. Is it when you take this and tie it off like so, which keeps that loop at a certain size. Then you can pull it like so and open it up to put it on your finger. And then as you release the spring, it has hold of your fingertip. So that will just attach like that to the end of your finger, and it'll go back to that size. And so this whip is adjustable to different people's fingers. It's 3 feet long, it's shot loaded. This whole thing weighs about, I don't know, 1.2, 1.3 ounces. It takes a very small cracker. I'll show you how I make the cracker. So this is 160-pound braided line, hollow braided, ultra high molecular weight polyethylene Dyneema. This is a very, very thin. I'm going to go back to millimeters just to give you some clue. It's 0.34 millimeters thick, and it's about a 2 millimeter wide. It's also flat. Spectra type material or Dyneema type material. You need about 18 inches, so 15, 16, 17, 18. And like most Dyneema things, a sharp knife does a pretty good job with it, like a scalpel. And here again, this is where this needle is very handy. So this is a 7-inch needle. If you want a loop that won't slip, because this is slick material, you take and put the long tail through. So I measured off about 6 inches, pierced it, I'm putting the long tail through. Pull the long tail through like so. Take your tent stake, take your 1.5 millimeter paracord needle that I made. If you want to make one of these, I have a whole video on it. This is smaller than the Tandy standard lacing needle, which is a 2 millimeter needle. Okay. Pop out the side. piece of whip maker cord and slide the tail in there. And now this is a Brummel spliced loop, which is like a bleed knot. So no matter how hard you pull, that loop will not collapse. This is about a foot long. Doesn't have to be, but it is. This is a very blunt tent stake fid thing. Okay. You can pick the feather apart. You don't have to pick the feather apart on this material. Little feather on its own, but a very blunt fid. And the fibers will self-tangle. And you want, a thumb's length worth of braid undone. You don't have to tie a knot in these. Like I said, they'll self-tangle and they'll wear off slowly. The nice part is if somebody's learning to throw a whip, there's nothing that's got a knot to start with to bite you. You take the end down here, you pinch the English eye, push about an inch with the English eye up to the top till you expose the cracker loop. And you toss the cracker on it. Then you fold the cracker, poke it back through itself, and grab with your thumbnail. That makes a square knot that won't come apart. You want to roll the knot so it goes back inside the 650 paracord. Like I said, this is old school 650, so it's bigger than normal 650 that you can buy now. This stuff's hard to find. I have about 3 or 4 dozen spools of this. So at the end, when this whip is packed and has 3 layers, it's about 7 millimeters, 6.9. So it's 7 millimeters this way, and it's 6 millimeters thick or so. And that's because the material was pressed flat and you layered layer upon layer, and it makes an oval shape. And that's a little flick to show you how it works. But this is the devil's bootlace, or the dangernoodle, original dangernoodle whip that I first started making when I first started making whips. And it's a 3-foot long whip that weighs like maybe an ounce. A little over an ounce, something like that. Just to give you an idea. It's 2 ounces, so I'm wrong. It's a 2-ounce whip. So it's a shot-loaded, kind of thick bootlace looking thing. And you can see it's got a directional nature to it. So you have to pay attention where its belly is, but the belly is completely bidirectional. So it's got 2 bellies, unlike most whips. And that directional steerability people really like, because when you throw it, it'll rub against itself and go out. Throw another flick. Hey, Sammy. Sammy's a fan. Do you want to say hi to the Sammy? Yeah. Anyways, this is a little small whip. You too can make one. You can go back and watch this video. This is how to make the dangernoodle thin. This is the thin version of the dangernoodle whip. It does require some special tools, but you can get by with a 2mm needle. You don't have to make a 1.5. It's just easier to make a 1.5 for doubling 275 paracord. And, you know, there's a whole bunch of 275 paracord pieces doubled up for little English eyes for holding crackers. There's another bundle of them rubber banded together. So if you have to make a whole bunch of English eyes, it's faster to do it that way. This is Chuck with Pocket Snakes, and you have a wonderful, wonderful time. Please like and subscribe. Let's check out.